My name is Nico Rivera, and I'm 32 years old, sitting in the back of a rideshare as we wind through the familiar streets of Chicago's South Side. The December air bites through the windows, and I can see my breath fog the glass as I watch the neighborhood where I grew up pass by in slow motion. The same corner stores with their faded awnings, the same chain-link fences wrapped around small front yards, the same feeling of something pressing down on my chest that I thought I'd left behind 5 years ago. I'm wearing a charcoal wool coat that probably costs more than my family spends on groceries in a month, and I can't decide if that makes me proud or ashamed. My hands rest on a leather portfolio containing documents I'll never show them, contracts and financial statements that would make my father's eyes widen, but I know he'd still find a way to dismiss them. He always does. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The driver slows down as we approach the house, and suddenly I'm 17 again, standing in our cramped kitchen while my father Raphael towers over me with those calloused hands clenched into fists. Not to hit me, he never hit me, but to show me what real work looked like. These hands built this family, he'd say, holding them up like evidence in a trial. What have your soft hands ever built? I remember that last Christmas morning 5 years ago, when he found me at the kitchen table, laptop open, working on code for what would eventually become Vertigrid Tech. The smell of my mother's tamales filled the air, but all I could focus on was the disgust in his voice when he said, still playing with that computer like a child. I tried to explain that I was building something, that I had meetings lined up with investors, that urban farming technology could change how cities feed themselves. But he just laughed, that bitter laugh that cut deeper than any shout. You want to play farmer on a computer screen while real men break their backs to feed their families? His voice grew louder, and I could hear my mother Luz moving nervously in the living room, probably wringing her hands the way she always did when we fought. I got you a job at the construction site. Real work, real money, but you're too good for that, aren't you? I wasn't too good for it. I was just different. I saw solutions where he saw problems, possibilities where he saw pipe dreams. When I told him I wouldn't take the job, that I needed to focus on my startup, something in his face hardened, like concrete setting in the sun. Then you can focus on it somewhere else, he said, and just like that, I was packing my laptop and the few clothes I owned into a duffel bag, while my mother pressed a plastic container of leftover food into my hands, her eyes bright with unshed tears. The car stops, and I'm back in the present, staring at the house where I learned that love and disappointment could occupy the same space. The front door opens before I can even knock, and there's my mother Luz, smaller than I remember, her dark hair now streaked with silver threads that catch the porch light. Her face breaks into a smile that makes my chest ache, and for a moment I'm 8 years old again, running to her after scraping my knee on the sidewalk. "Me Joe," she whispers, pulling me into a hug that smells like vanilla and cumin and home. "You look so thin. Are you eating enough?" I want to tell her I eat at restaurants now where the plates are bigger than our old kitchen table, but instead I just hold her tighter and say, "I'm fine, Mommy. I'm good." Behind her, I can see the living room frozen in time. The same brown couch with the worn arms, the same television perched on a wooden stand, the same family photos on the mantel where my face stops appearing around age 27. And there, filling the doorway to the kitchen, is my father Raphael, his gray hair combed back, his work shirt pressed but his expression carved from stone. "So you decided to come back," he says, not moving from his spot. His eyes sweep over my coat, my dark jeans, the leather shoes I bought in downtown Chicago. "Look at you, dressed up like you're somebody important." My brother Javi appears beside him, broader now, his firefighter's build filling out his Bears jersey. He grins, but there's something sharp in it. "Hey, little brother, nice threads. You sellin' insurance now or something?" I force a smile, the kind I've perfected in boardrooms when investors try to rattle me. "Something like that." Come inside," my mother says, tugging on my sleeve. "It's cold. I made tamales, your favorite ones with the green sauce." As we move into the living room, I hear a familiar sound, a rhythmic thumping against the floor. Diego, our old German shepherd, emerges from the hallway, grayer around the muzzle, moving slower, but with his tail wagging so hard his whole body shakes. He's the only one who greets me without reservation, pressing his warm bulk against my legs like he's trying to convince himself I'm real. At least somebody's happy to see me, I murmur, scratching behind his ears. He's been waiting by the door since yesterday, my mother says softly. Dogs don't forget. My father grunts. Dogs don't have to pay rent either. We settle into the living room, this strange tableau of family reunion and funeral wake. My mother bustles around, setting out plates and glasses, asking about my flight, my hotel, anything to fill the silence. Javi slouches in the recliner, studying me like I'm a puzzle he's trying to solve. My father sits rigid on the couch, his hands folded in his lap, waiting. So, he finally says, what is it you do now? Still playing with computers? The question hangs in the air like smoke, and I realize this is the test, the same one I failed 5 years ago. But I'm not 17 anymore, and I'm not afraid of his judgment, not the way I used to be. I'm about to answer my father's question when the doorbell rings, cutting through the tension like a knife through rope. My mother looks puzzled, glancing at the clock on the wall. Who could that be on Christmas Eve? I know exactly who it is, and I feel a mixture of relief and anxiety as I stand to answer the door. That's probably Elise. She works with me. Works with you? Javi raises an eyebrow, his tone skeptical. Doing what exactly? Before I can respond, I'm opening the door to find Elise Tran standing on the porch, her black hair pulled back in a sleek bun, wearing a burgundy coat that makes her look like she belongs in a magazine. She's holding a beautifully wrapped gift basket and her leather tablet case, and when she sees me, her professional smile softens into something more genuine. Right on time, she says quietly, then louder. I hope I'm not intruding. I brought something for your family. My mother appears at my shoulder, curious and welcoming in that way she has with strangers. Oh, how thoughtful. Please, come in, come in. I'm Luz, Nico's mother. Elise Tran, she says, extending her hand with perfect poise. I've heard so much about you, Mrs. Rivera. Nico talks about your cooking constantly. Quote, I watch my father's face as Elise enters our small living room, how his eyes narrow as he takes in her expensive coat, her confident posture, the way she moves through space like she owns it. Javi straightens up in his chair, suddenly self-conscious in his jersey and jeans. This is my father, Rafael, I say, and my brother, Javi. Elise approaches my father with the same calm dignity she uses with difficult clients. Mr. Rivera, it's an honor to meet you. Nico speaks of you often. My father gives her a curt nod, clearly unsure how to process this polished woman in his living room. And what is it you do, miss? Tran, she supplies smoothly. I work with Nico. I help run his company. The word company hangs in the air like a challenge. Javi leans forward, suddenly interested. Company? What kind of company? We develop sustainable technology solutions for urban food systems, Elise says, settling gracefully onto the couch beside my mother. Nico's the visionary. I just help make sure his ideas reach the people who need them. My father's laugh is harsh. Company, right. What's next? You're going to tell me he's some kind of CEO. Elise's smile doesn't waver, but I catch the slight tightening around her eyes. She's protective of me in a way that still catches me off guard sometimes, this fierce loyalty I never expected when I hired her 3 years ago. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. Actually, she says, her voice perfectly level, that's exactly what I'm telling you. The room falls silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator and Diego's soft panting. My mother's eyes widen, and for the first time since I arrived, my father looks genuinely surprised. I realize I'm holding my breath, waiting for his response, still that boy seeking approval even though I no longer need it. Christmas Eve passes in a blur of careful conversations and sideways glances. My mother insists I stay for dinner tomorrow, her voice carrying that particular weight that means refusal isn't really an option. It's Christmas, Mijo. Family should be together. I agree, though every instinct tells me to run. Elise offers to return in the morning to help me through it, and I'm grateful for her understanding. She's seen me after difficult board meetings, knows how I shut down when I feel cornered. The next morning, I'm sitting at the kitchen table, watching my mother prepare her Christmas feast, when the front door bursts open with a familiar bang. "Where is he?" a voice booms from the entryway. "Where's my tech mogul nephew?" Aunt Margot sweeps into the kitchen like a hurricane in a bright red dress, her silver hair piled high, her arms loaded with shopping bags. She's Raphael's older sister, but where he's all sharp edges and disapproval, she's warmth and mischief. She drops everything to wrap me in a hug that lifts me off my feet. "Look at you," she says, holding me at arm's length. "Successful and handsome. I've been bragging about you to everyone at the salon." "Margot," my father's voice carries a warning from the living room, but she waves him off. "Oh, hush, Raphael, I'm proud of him." She turns back to me, her eyes bright with genuine affection. "Remember when you built that wind turbine thing in high school? I told everyone you were going to change the world." My mother smiles, stirring the pozole. "He was so smart, always building things, always asking questions about how everything worked." "Smart doesn't pay the bills," my father mutters, but Margot rounds on him. "Says who? Look at Bill Gates. Look at that Facebook boy. Smart pays very well these days, hermano." I step outside to escape the building tension, Diego following me to the small backyard where I used to sit and dream about escaping this neighborhood. The December air burns my lungs, but it's better than the suffocating weight of expectations inside. Elise finds me there 20 minutes later, her cheeks pink from the cold. "Rough morning?" "Getting rougher by the minute." I lean against the fence, watching my breath form clouds in the air. "I don't know why I came back. Nothing's changed." "Everything's changed," she says quietly. "You just can't see it yet." She stands beside me, our shoulders almost touching. "You know what I see when I look at you? I see someone who built something beautiful from nothing. Someone who employs 37 people and feeds hundreds of families through our urban farming programs. Someone who is invited to speak at the UN about sustainable food systems. My father will never see any of that. Maybe not. But that doesn't make it less real." She turns to face me, her expression serious. "You're not here to prove anything to him, Nico. You're here to prove something to yourself." The back door opens, and my mother calls out, "Dinner's ready. Come inside, both of you." As we walk toward the house, I realize she's right. This dinner isn't about my father's approval anymore. It's about finally letting go of the boy who needed it. The dining room table looks beautiful, covered in my mother's best tablecloth with the small burn mark she always tries to hide with the centerpiece. The smell of tamales and pozole fills the air, mixing with the pine scent from the small Christmas tree in the corner. For a moment, I can almost pretend we're a normal family gathering for a normal Christmas dinner. We take our seats around the table. My mother at one end, my father at the other, Javi and Margot on one side, Elise and me on the other. Diego settles at my feet, his warm weight against my legs like an anchor. My mother says grace, her voice soft and hopeful, asking for blessings on family and forgiveness for old wounds. The first few minutes pass peacefully enough. Margot compliments Elise on the gift basket she brought, which contained locally sourced honey and artisanal chocolates. "So thoughtful," she says. "You must work for a very considerate boss." Elise smiles. "The best I've ever had." My father cuts his tamale with more force than necessary. "Must be nice, having someone bring you fancy gifts. In my day, assistants made coffee and answered phones." "Elise isn't just an assistant," I say quietly. "She's my business partner." Javi looks up from his plate, that familiar skeptical expression crossing his face. "Business partner in what exactly? You still haven't told us what this mysterious company of yours actually does." I start to explain about Vertigrid, about vertical farming systems and food accessibility, but my father's laugh cuts me off. It's the same laugh I remember from 5 years ago, full of dismissal and disappointment. "Here we go again," he says, setting down his fork. "Still talking about your computer games like they're real work." "Raphael," my mother warns, but he's already building momentum. "You know what real work looks like, Nico?" He holds up his hands, the same calloused, scarred hands I remember from childhood. "This is real work. 30 years of construction, building actual things that people can see and touch, not playing pretend with screens." Margot tries to intervene. "Raphael, times have changed. Technology is what's wrong with kids today," he interrupts, his voice rising. "No respect for honest labor, no understanding of what it means to sacrifice for your family." The room goes quiet, except for the soft clink of my mother's spoon against her bowl. I can feel Elise tense beside me, her protective instincts kicking in, but I touch her arm gently. "This is my fight." "I do understand sacrifice," I say, my voice steady, despite the familiar burning in my chest. "I understand working 18-hour days and sleeping on couches and eating ramen for months because you believe in something bigger than yourself." My father's eyes narrow. "You call that sacrifice? You've never done a day of real work in your life. You'll never amount to anything because you don't understand what it means to be a man." The words hit me like a physical blow, just as brutal as they were 5 years ago. The silence that follows is deafening. Then Elise reaches into her purse and pulls out a sleek business card, sliding it across the table toward my father with quiet dignity. "Perhaps," she says, "you should read this." My father picks up the business card with the same reluctance he might show toward a spider, holding it between his thumb and forefinger as if it might bite him. His lips move silently as he reads, and I watch his face change from skepticism to confusion to something I can't quite identify. "Vertigrid Technologies," he reads aloud, his voice uncertain for the first time all evening. "Nico Rivera, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder." He looks up at me, then back at the card. "What is this supposed to mean?" Elise's voice is calm, professional. "It means your son runs a company that's currently valued at $8.7 million. The silence that follows is so complete I can hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway, each second stretching like an eternity. My mother's spoon clatters against her bowl as her hand goes to her mouth. Javi stops chewing entirely, his eyes wide. Even Diego lifts his head, sensing the shift in the room's energy. Margot breaks first, letting out a whoop of laughter that makes everyone jump. $8.7 million? Holy Mary, Mother of God. Raphael, your boy is a millionaire. It's not about the money, I say quietly, finally finding my voice. Vertigrid develops hydroponic farming systems for urban environments. We help schools and community centers grow fresh produce in neighborhoods that don't have access to healthy food. Last year, we provided vegetables for over 2,000 families in Chicago. Quote, my mother's eyes fill with tears. Me, Joe, you're feeding people? Paper money, my father says, but his voice lacks its earlier conviction. Numbers on a computer screen, that's not real. Elise reaches for her tablet, her movements precise and controlled. Would you like to see something real, Mr. Rivera? She pulls up a photo of our latest installation, a gleaming vertical garden in a Southside elementary school. This is at Benito Juarez Elementary. The children grow their own lunch vegetables. The school saves $15,000 a year on food costs. She swipes to another image. This is our partnership with the city's housing authority. 78 apartment buildings now have rooftop gardens. Another swipe. This is the sustainability award we received from the mayor's office last month. Javi leans forward, studying the tablet screen. Jesus, Nico. This is actually incredible. We employ 37 people, Elise continues, her voice steady and factual. Engineers, agricultural specialists, installation crews, all with full benefits and profit sharing. She looks directly at my father. Real jobs for real people doing real work. My father sets the business card down carefully, as if it might explode. His hands are shaking slightly, and I realize this is the first time I've ever seen him look truly shaken. The foundation of his worldview, the certainty that his way was the only way, is cracking right in front of us. How long? He asks, his voice barely above a whisper. 5 years, I answer, Since the day you threw me out." The words hang in the air between us, and I see something I've never seen before in my father's eyes. Not pride, not yet, but the beginning of understanding that maybe, just maybe, he was wrong. The rest of dinner passes in a strange, muted atmosphere. My father barely speaks, picking at his food, while Margot fills the silence with enthusiastic questions about the business. Javi wants to know about our hiring process, and Elise graciously answers everything while I sit in a daze, still processing the look on my father's face when reality finally hit him. After we finish eating, I step outside for air, Diego padding behind me like a faithful shadow. The backyard feels smaller than I remember, enclosed by the same chain-link fence where I used to lean and dream about escaping. Now I'm successful beyond those teenage fantasies, but somehow I still feel like that restless boy, waiting for something I can't name. I hear the screen door creak and turn to see my mother approaching with 2 steaming mugs of hot chocolate, the kind she used to make when I was sick or sad. She hands me one and settles beside me on the concrete steps, pulling her sweater tighter against the cold. "I need to tell you something, Mijo," she says, her voice soft as always but carrying a weight I haven't heard before. "I should have spoken up more. All those times your father was hard on you, all those times he dismissed your dreams, I should have defended you." I start to protest, but she holds up her hand. "Let me finish. I was scared, you understand? Scared of going against him, scared of making things worse, but I was wrong to stay silent." She reaches into her sweater pocket and pulls out a small photo album I've never seen before. "I want to show you something." She opens it, and I'm stunned to see newspaper clippings, printouts of articles, screenshots of web pages, all about Vertigrid, all about me. There's the Tribune piece about our school partnerships, the startup magazine feature that called me Chicago's green tech visionary, even a grainy photo of me speaking at a community development conference. "I saved everything I could find," she says, her voice thick with emotion. "Every article, every mention. I have a Google alert set up for your name." She laughs through tears that are starting to fall. I don't even know how to use computers very well, but I learned how to do that. My throat feels tight, and I can barely get the words out. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because I was a coward. Because it was easier to keep peace in the house than to fight for what was right." She turns to face me fully, her dark eyes bright with unshed tears. "But I want you to know that every single day for 5 years, I've been proud of you. Every single day, I've wondered what you were doing, if you were eating enough, if you were happy." She closes the album and presses it into my hands. "Your father may never understand what you've accomplished, Mijo. His pride is too big, his fear of being wrong too strong. But I understand. And I see you. And I am so proud of the man you've become." I pull her into a hug, and for the first time since I've been home, I feel something inside my chest begin to unclench. Not the approval I thought I needed from my father, but something deeper. The knowledge that I was never as alone as I believed. The next morning, I'm in my old bedroom packing the few things I brought when I hear a soft knock on the door. Javi stands in the doorway, still in his pajama pants and an old Bulls t-shirt, holding 2 cups of coffee. He looks younger somehow, less like the confident firefighter, and more like the little brother who used to follow me around the house. "Can I come in?" he asks, and I nod, gesturing to the bed where he used to sit when we'd talk late into the night as kids. He hands me one of the cups and takes a sip of his own, staring out the window at the neighbor's house where Mrs. Gonzalez is hanging laundry despite the December cold. "I owe you an apology," he says finally. "You don't owe me anything, Javi." "Yeah, I do." He turns to face me, and I'm surprised to see genuine regret in his eyes. "I spent years thinking you were the lucky one, the one who got to leave, who got to chase dreams while I stayed here and did what was expected." He laughs, but there's no humor in it. "Turns out you weren't lucky at all. You were just braver." I sit down on the bed beside him, remembering all the times we'd shared this space as kids, planning adventures we'd never take, talking about futures that seemed impossibly far away. I'm not brave, Hermano. I was terrified every single day for 5 years. But you did it anyway. That's what brave means. He runs his hands through his hair, a gesture I recognize from childhood when he was trying to work up the courage to admit he'd broken something. You want to know the truth? I almost quit the fire department last year. This catches me off guard. What? Why? Because I realized I never actually chose it. I just fell into it because it was what Dad respected. Dangerous work, physical work, real man's work. He makes air quotes around the phrase we've both heard 1,000 times, but I don't love it. I never did. I love fixing things, building things with my hands. I always wanted to be a carpenter, maybe start my own furniture business. So why didn't you? He gives me a look that's part admiration, part envy, because I wasn't brave enough to disappoint him, not like you were. He pauses, then says quietly, "Do you remember about 2 years ago there was an article about you in the Tribune, about that school garden project?" Quote, I nod, remembering the photographer who followed me around for a day, capturing shots of kids harvesting lettuce they'd grown themselves. I bought 10 copies of that paper. 10. I kept one and gave the rest to people at the firehouse, telling them about my brilliant little brother. His voice breaks slightly. I was so proud of you and so angry at myself for not defending you when Dad was tearing you down. I reach over and squeeze his shoulder. You were protecting yourself, I get it. No, I was being a coward, and I'm sorry. He looks at me directly now. But seeing you yesterday, seeing what you've built, it makes me think maybe it's not too late for me to find some courage too. We sit in comfortable silence for a moment, two brothers finally seeing each other clearly after years of misunderstanding. Outside, I can hear my mother humming in the kitchen, Elisa's voice joining the conversation as she helps with breakfast. You know what the funny thing is? Javi says. All this time, I thought you left us behind. But you didn't. You just showed us there was another way forward. Instead of heading straight back to downtown Chicago, Elise and I take a detour to the west side, to Roosevelt Elementary, where one of our newest vertical farming installations hums quietly in the corner of the cafeteria. The principal, Mrs. Washington, greets us at the door with a smile that could power the entire building. Mr. Rivera, perfect timing. The kids just finished harvesting this week's lettuce crop. She leads us through hallways decorated with student artwork, past classrooms where children's voices rise and fall in the familiar rhythm of learning. They've been asking when you were coming back. The cafeteria has been transformed since our installation 6 months ago. Where there used to be empty walls, now towers of green reach toward the ceiling, each level carefully tended and monitored by the students themselves. The smell of fresh herbs mingles with the lingering scent of this morning's breakfast, creating something that feels like hope made tangible. A group of fourth graders surrounds us immediately, their faces bright with excitement. They show off their latest harvest, explaining the growth cycles they've learned, the nutrients they've measured, the data they've collected. One girl named Sophia holds up a perfect head of butter lettuce like it's a trophy. We grew this ourselves, she announces proudly, from tiny seeds to our lunch salad. My grandma says it tastes better than the store stuff. I kneel down to her level, remembering my own childhood hunger for approval, for someone to see value in what I was creating. That's because you put your heart into growing it. Plants can feel that, you know. A boy named Marcus raises his hand like we're in class. Mr. Rivera, does your family help you with this stuff? My dad says families are supposed to help each other with work. The question catches me off guard, and I feel Elise's gentle touch on my shoulder. I glance at her, this woman who has stood by me through every failure and success, who believed in Vertigrid when it was just sketches on napkins and dreams spoken into empty rooms. You know what, Marcus? Some family does help, I say, looking around at the children gathered here, at Mrs. Washington beaming in the background, at Elise, whose steady presence has been my anchor through everything. Family doesn't always look the way you expect it to. Sometimes the people who believe in you most aren't the ones you share a last name with. The children nod solemnly, processing this wisdom with the gravity only kids can manage. Then Sophia tugs on my sleeve. Will you take a picture with our garden for our class bulletin board? As we posed together among the green towers, the children clustering around Elise and me with their harvest in their hands, I feel something shift inside my chest. This is what success actually looks like. Not the numbers in my bank account or the valuation of my company, but these young faces lit up with pride in their own accomplishments. Mrs. Washington snaps the photo and immediately shows it to us on her phone. "This is going right next to our other heroes wall," she says, right between the picture of Mrs. Obama and the local firefighter who saved Mr. Chen's cat. As we prepare to leave, one of the students runs up with a handmade card covered in crayon drawings of vegetables and signed by the entire class. The message inside, written in careful third-grade handwriting, reads, "Thank you for teaching us that we can grow anything if we don't give up." I hold that card against my chest as we walk back to the car, and I realize this is the only validation I've ever truly needed. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in our downtown office overlooking the Chicago River, adjusting the camera angle on my laptop for what feels like the 100th time. The afternoon light streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting everything in a warm glow that makes the space feel hopeful rather than corporate. Behind me, you can see our latest prototype, a compact hydroponic tower that will soon be installed in community centers across the South Side. I take a deep breath and hit record on what will become our most watched YouTube video. My name is Nico Rivera, and I'm the CEO of Vertigrid Technologies. This is a story about coming home for Christmas and what I learned about the difference between being right and being understood. I tell them everything about growing up in a house where dreams were considered luxuries we couldn't afford, about my father's calloused hands and his certainty that only physical labor had value, about the night he threw me out for choosing possibility over security. I show them photos from Christmas dinner, carefully avoiding my father's face but capturing the moment Elise placed that business card on the table. "I didn't build this company to prove my father wrong," I say, holding up the handmade card from Roosevelt Elementary. "I built it because these kids deserve fresh food, because communities deserve sustainable solutions, because the future doesn't have to look like the past." I talk about Elise, about the team we've built, about the families whose lives have changed because we dared to imagine food systems that work for everyone. I talk about my mother's secret scrapbook and Javi's hidden dreams, about how courage can be contagious if you're willing to be patient. The video ends with me reading the children's card aloud, my voice steady but my eyes bright with emotion. They wrote, "Thank you for teaching us that we can grow anything if we don't give up." I think that's the real lesson here. Success isn't about proving someone wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were always right to try. Within hours, the video has thousands of views. By the end of the week, it's gone viral. The comments pour in, from other kids who felt dismissed, other immigrants whose parents couldn't understand their dreams, other entrepreneurs who built something from nothing, while the people they loved most told them it was impossible. Margot texts me a screenshot showing she shared it on Facebook with the caption, "My nephew is famous. I always knew he was special." The post has 47 heart emojis. My mother calls that evening, her voice thick with tears. "Mijo, I watched your video 5 times. I'm so proud." And I posted it on my Facebook too, though I don't have as many friends as Margot. Javi messages me later, "Saw the video. Applied to community college today for their carpentry program. Thanks for showing me it's never too late to start over." My father never calls, never texts, never acknowledges the video that now has over 2 million views. But for the first time in my life, his silence doesn't hurt. It just is. I built Vertigrid not to heal old wounds, but to prevent new ones. Not to prove I was worth something, but to prove that worth isn't something you need to prove at all. It's something you grow, carefully and patiently, until it feeds not just yourself, but everyone around you who's hungry for hope. And that's a harvest I can be proud of. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch, and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.